Hey everybody, this is Jeff Fry with Talent Path, and I am here. I get the privilege today to talk to Paul for a little while here. Hi, Paul.
Hey Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. So Paul is a Talent Path consultant that has been through the entire process. So he's hired on. I still call him a Talent Path consultant because affectionately he's one of our folks that was highly successful in the program. So he has moved on past Talent Path, been through the entire process, and just want to talk to him a little bit today about that process and how that happened. So thanks, Paul, for being here. I really appreciate your time today. So why don't you introduce? I know who you are, but why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to folks? Give them a little bit of background about yourself, a little bit of history before you even knew what Talent Path was. Why don't you give us a little bit of that?
Certainly. So before I even heard of Talent Path, I was actually working in the automotive industry, and I had just finished my bachelor's degree in mathematics. And I really wanted to do something different with my life, a change of career. So I started looking around, and Talent Path reached out to me. I definitely was interested in the program, so I definitely like going through the program. The automotive business was just starting to slow down and drag down on me, so I was really glad to have the opportunity.
How about, so you said mathematics degree. What school did you go to?
Oh, I went to a Southern New Hampshire University. Actually, I did all my classes online and got my bachelor's degree in mathematics while working from home.
That's great. That's great. And so then you heard about Talent Path, obviously, and
Yes.
you went through that program. You got past that, and now, why don't you give me a day in the life of what you're up to now? What's life look like? Where are you at? What are you doing?
Certainly. So after Talent Path, I was lucky enough to get hired by Capgemini, which we met through Talent Path. So that was a big help. A day in the life, right now I log into my computer about 9 o'clock in the morning. I check in a couple different online uh, message boards that's used by our teams through a Microsoft product in order to see what kind of projects need to be worked on today. Mainly, I work with Salesforce, though, which is a great program, and I do administrative tasks throughout the day. And then the big part of my job is release management. So I move all the development from different orgs up to production for Capgemini. So it's a hard thinking job. You definitely have some problem solving, and it's right up the alleyway that I was looking for when I was looking for a career change.
That's awesome. So how many folks do you interact with then? I mean, you're doing releases for production, right? So is there a certain number of people on a team, or is that a group? About what's that look like for you day to day?
So I actually am working for 3 different teams.
Okay.
So I'm spread pretty thin. Each team has between 10 and 15 people on it. So I interact with about 40 people every day. And then I also have probably 4 or 5 meetings every day virtually right now, just to make sure everything's going smoothly, development's going smoothly. So keep myself definitely out there consulting and talking with people.
How's the management structure? I mean, you're tucked up underneath the release team. You have a direct supervisor. What's that look like for you?
So actually, I am the release manager. I have one person who's just now started underneath me that I'm training up, and I have the project managers that I report to. So I've got 3 different project managers that I report to.
Got it. So the different teams have different project managers, and they're
Yep.
they're doing that. Interesting. Good. And you've been there for how long now? What's the
I've been at Capgemini for about 4 or 5 months now.
Okay, 4 or 5 months. And you relocated for that position, right? Tell me a little bit about where you were at and then how you got to the relocation.
Certainly. There was a lot of relocation and a time away from home, both during Talent Path and afterwards. When I first started with Talent Path, I lived about 3.5 hours away, as you know.
Yeah.
And I would get up in the morning and drive from where I lived up to the office. During the week, I would crash at somebody's that I knew's house, and talk with my family. I had a son on the way who actually ended up being born right after the 90-day training program, so that was really good timing. So uh, it got me prepared for moving, and actually, I now live in Annapolis, Maryland, on the water. Able to look over the ocean every morning to get myself ready for the day, and it definitely has changed my lifestyle. So
That's great. That's great. So you mentioned, your family during the Talent Path program, and I know as you went through that program, there was some, back and forth and going here and there, and really admired. I think everybody in the program admired you and your family's stamina for doing that. Any other struggles along the way? Is that the major hurdle to overcome, or what were some any other struggles that you had, going through this program transitioning over?
well, the one of the biggest ones was actually my nervousness going into the program, switching careers from an automotive and non-technological background to one that was primarily technological. I didn't know if I was going to really be able to do it. But with Talent Path, you guys brought in experts to teach the programs and just made sure that you knew, or me as a Talent Path employee, had a backing and a support structure. And after the first 3 4 weeks, that nervousness went away, and then it was just spending time away from my family that was the biggest struggle. Just not being able to hold my daughter and see her playing around. So
Yeah.
but you guys made things nice and easy, and if there's ever anything that I needed, you always helped me out. So
That's great. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. So, so in your words, then maybe how did Talent Path help you? I mean, you talked a little bit about where you were, the program, where you're at now. How did Talent Path help you at all? Whatever you want to say, obviously. How did we help you through that process?
So Talent Path has helped me in so many ways. It's probably going to take about an hour if I really went through every single one. But the biggest one was you had leaders in place that were able to see my leadership skills and bring those out in me. The experts that you brought in to teach us made sure that we really understood the material, and then just the differences in my group, my cohort, allowed me to pull off of everybody else's knowledge, find out that really I enjoy teaching a little too. There's SQL, for instance, was one of my really strong points. So I was happy that I was able to help out some of my cohorts, and just the team building and the camaraderie in the whole program was huge for me. And it's really allowed me to get to where I am.
That's great. Well, you definitely are a success story. You did a lot of that, obviously, yourself. I mean, we can set up the structure and kind of assist with that, but the things that you did to get through the program and to get to where you are today, phenomenal. So, really proud of you and everything you've accomplished, and I'm looking forward to hearing about great things that you're going to do in the future, and I hope to stay in touch and keep in touch with you. So thanks for doing this. I really appreciate the time, and yeah, hopefully other people who watch this get a good sense for things that we have done and things that you have done, and how it's a partnership between the consultant and Talent Path to get to the place. So thank you for doing this. Really appreciate your time, and we will talk to you later.
Sounds good. And if it's all right, if I could give just one piece of advice for anybody
Sure.
watching
Yeah,
this video,
please.
they definitely have the structure and the backing, but it is a lot of hard work, and you do have to put a lot of thought and time into it, both in the office and outside of the office. Otherwise, there's no way I would be where I am right now. So if it's a great opportunity, they will get you to where you need to be, but you've gotta want it. So have that drive and keep pushing forward.
That's great advice. That's great advice. So thank you. Appreciate it. All right, we'll talk later.
Sounds good.
All
Thank you,
right.
Jeff.
Bye.